What is going on, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Black Desert. So, one thing I wanted to talk about, which I've talked about before, was 10 things or 10 tips for new players and things you should expect in this game. Now, I've done this before, but I wanted to make like a part 2 of this because, as you guys know, new people come into the game every day, I guess, and these are some things as a veteran player like myself I would pass down to other people just looking into getting into the game. So 10 things, or at least there's 10 things. I wrote that down. But anyway, what we're going to be doing just in the background, if you're listening as like an audio video, that's fine. There's nothing really anything exciting happening. We're just going to be doing some what are these, ancient scrolls, and running it from memfrag. So we're going to have that for our next enhancing session. But yeah, 10 tips for new players, what you should expect getting into this game. And number one, you guys can also chime in, leave it in the comments, let me know what kind of tips you would give to new players as well, which is always awesome. But number one, I would say stop comparing yourself to other players, because if you look at, like, I don't know, my gear or something versus someone else, it's obviously going to be different. And if you compare like grind spots and silver an hour to other people, everyone has a different class, playstyle, and it's always going to be different. So play this game at your own pace, and just, if you are a casual, that's fine, or if you play super hardcore, that's fine. But the best way to not stress yourself out is basically just have fun. Don't compare yourself to others, play at your own pace, and you'll get there eventually. Because this is one thing that a lot of people don't really recognize early on, but the more you progress in this game, the later you get in terms of like year progression, the longer it takes for upgrades to happen. So as a realistic example, for me, getting a small upgrade takes like 3 to 4 months. And if you are just starting and you're like fresh out of season, you're going to be picking up upgrades every week, maybe every 2 weeks or something like that. Depends on how much you play. So there's a lot of catch-up mechanics in this game that really do help people. And you still will have to put in work at late game, but don't worry. They have a lot of stuff to catch you up to other players. And when you watch my videos, for example, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little above the gear curve, but with that said, I would say I'm an exception, and your average player is gonna be where you can catch up to relatively easily. So yeah, it's not that bad. So that was tip number one: play at your own pace, don't stress yourself out. You can definitely ask people for advice and stuff, but if you're like, this guy makes 1 billion silver an hour, but I can only make 300 mil an hour, you'll get there. Trust me, your gear will get better over time. Once you learn how to do things more efficiently, it just goes by really quickly. So with that said, number two, don't look at other people's silver an hour and frustrate yourself with all that, because there's a lot of factors in terms of people making X amount of silver an hour. Whether you're a life skiller, whether all you do is grind, there's a lot of factors that go into how much people make. And yes, I would say gear is a factor, but at the same time, classes are not exactly equally balanced. And what does that mean? Like, whether I'm grinding or PvPing, I'm gonna get outclassed by the meta ones and like super strong unbalanced ones anyway. So when you look at people's silver an hour, it's not that it's a bad thing to do, it's just like a benchmark of where you're at. But just know that all classes will do something or get a little bit like of a different number. And especially if you're playing what people are calling non-meta classes, you're probably going to get less than the usual. However, that goes into our next topic of finding a class that you like. Now, this is something that I've done, and when I first started, I played Valkyrie. You guys can actually watch my videos. When this game first came out 6 years ago, my first ever class was a Valkyrie, and then when Dark Knight came out, re-rolled over that, and we're basically still on it 6 years later, or 5 or 4 or something, whenever it came out. And so I've always said this to people, that whether you're a flavor of the month reroller or someone who just enjoys their class, you're going to have more fun playing the class you enjoy. So it's pretty important to find one that you like early on and to stick with it, because there are people that have stuck with their class for many years, and even though it may not be meta, they have practiced with it and they just know it like the back of their hand, so they're really good. And it's ultimately like, if people have asked me what is the best thing to play, or like what's the best class, and it's not that I think it's wrong to reroll, ultimately play what you think is fun, but it's like, if you're just trying to get min-max everything, eventually you're gonna burn out just because you're just trying to min-max and everything. Whereas if you enjoy your character, then you'll definitely have a lot more fun, even if you're making slightly less an hour than whatever. So yeah, I've definitely, for example, know Dark Knights used to be at like very near the bottom, and people would meme on it that's so bad, and then, you know, 5 years later they buffed it, and even right now it's, I would say Dark Knights are definitely improved. They're not like top tier as people think they are, but I think they are above average, and or like a little higher than the average, but not top tier. So yeah, just learn to play your class, and then if they ever buff it down the line, you're going to become like a god gamer or something. So another thing that I thought was important was learning how to use the central market in this game, because a lot of people have asked me, how is this game without like a free market of some sorts? Like, I don't know if you've ever played RuneScape or MapleStory or something. I used to play those games, by the way, that's why I'm using them as examples. So in this game, obviously there's no trading, as in like you cannot trade anything of notable value, and all like gains either are self-made or go through the central market, right? And the best way to make money is just by looking at things overall. It doesn't matter what you do, just scroll down the list of literally everything on the market, find out what items are hot at the moment, and look at the patch notes. So usually this game is, in my opinion, economy driven. So that means, like, for example, if 1 month they're giving a lot of hards and sharps, which are enhancing materials, obviously the price is going to go down for those materials during the 2-week event. And then after that, it usually goes up again, because high demand and supply of all that stuff. So if you actually do follow this game and take it a little bit seriously, you would read the patch notes and figure out that like what might be hot, what might not, what you should stock up on, and then what you might sell later. So that's one way of looking at how to profit, even if you're just flipping the item and selling it for whatever profit. But yeah, I would say this game is very economy driven. So just know what's happening, even if you don't do the event itself. Just know what are like popular items and whatnot. So that's a good way to make money. Let's see, what else did I write? We talked about all of that. Oh yeah, so another one. This is for the life skillers out there. If you don't know, if you are new, life skillers are what we call the people who do these various life skills in the game. So in this game, there are 2 routes of playing, for the most part, 2 major routes. You are either a grinder, a life skiller, well, I guess it's 3, PvPer, but I would categorize that in the 2 different types of gear, I should say. So either way, let's just go grinder, PvPer, or life skiller. So when people talk about how they make a lot of silver doing X life skill, there's a big picture, because a lot of these life skills are connected in a way, like gathering, for example. You could gather for an hour and make X amount of silver, right? But if you take it a step further, use the materials you gathered and then either cook them into, like, okay, how do I break this down into something people understand easily? I'm not trying to call you dumb. I'm just trying to make it easier to understand, especially for new players. So, you're gathering, right? Let's call the materials or the raw materials you get out of here tier 1 materials, right? The lowest tier. You could turn those materials into something like a tier 2 material by cooking it. And then obviously those tier 2 materials will sell for more, or you can use it and make it into like a tier 3, which also sells for more. So when people say they make billions of silver from life skilling, it's not because they just sold the materials on the market, like the tier 1s, the raw materials that are super easy to get. It's because they learned how to do various other life skills and then profited off of that. However, with that said, it's not as easy as just like, cook an egg or something and then sell it. You do need life skill gear, and in this game, unlike your traditional MMO, there is like your PvE gear, well, I guess like grinding gear, and then life skilling gear. But PvP and the grinding gear are kind of the same, more or less. But anyway, there's life skill gear that is completely separate. They, for the most part, function very differently. And yeah, if you want to go the life skill route, you could. It's just know that they are like 2 routes of the game you go to, and it is kind of expensive for the most part. So either way, you could do all of it on one character if you wanted to. But another thing that goes into all of our things we've talked about before in having multiple characters in this game. So as you guys know, in other games, you usually have 1 or 2 main characters and everything else is just like, oh, I have it because I have it. Now, it's kind of true for this game where people only have 1 or 2 characters that they play as their main, myself included. But there is an actual reason to have multiple characters in this game, which allows you to obviously put your different life skills on different characters. And obviously they are like fail stack holders and energy batteries, which are other things that we covered in the past. Like fail stacks are like if you enhancing system in the game, and energy is per character, right? So like this number up here, every character has a different, or like the same total pool of energy, but it regens at the same, like a different place. Like one is your active and then just your others. But yeah, there's actually a reason in this game to have multiple characters even if you don't play them, so it's always good to just make them even if you don't plan on playing them. This is actually okay, like, first of all, okay, this is, I guess, another tip that kind of goes into this. So knowing that BDO is a sandbox game versus your traditional MMO, like, I don't know, World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls Online. So that means there's no, like, direct progression path of, like, get to max level and then do these highest raids to get the best gear, wait until the next expansion. This game doesn't work like that. It's, as you guys know, sandbox means you can do whatever you want. The ultimate end goal is whatever you want it to be. Whether it's you want perfect PvP gear, or you just want high numbers and you just PvE grind all day, or life skill all day. Whatever your goal is, that is your goal. There is no end game. Well, I say that the end game is the highest end, like PvE spots, or how much you can do in an hour and just push yourself to the best as far as you can. So just know BDO is not your traditional MMO, and you set your goals for this game instead of having the game be very linear and telling you what to do. So another thing that goes following that is experience versus watching YouTubers and streamers. Now, it's kind of ironic that you're watching this video instead, but it's always better to get experience with this game, like just firsthand, whether than like just taking the word of your favorite creator or something. So, for example, if you are looking to get better into PvP, the honest truth that pretty much every creator will tell you is just practice. And you only get better by practicing, doing it yourself. And I'm not saying that it's like a bad idea to watch people. You definitely learn a lot of stuff by watching the top tier players do it. But the best way to do it is just practice yourself and ask the people who are very good at their class for like tips and tricks to help you get better. But watching videos and streams only get you so far, but doing it yourself will like connect the dots, and then that's how you become good at things. And so that also goes for PvP and PvE. So like if you're just trying to grind in circles, you could start like optimizing your rotation, and at the end of the day, you'll either make more silver grinding, you'll get better at PvP, or you'll just learn some new tricks. So definitely, once again, I want to make this very clear. It's not bad to like take notes from creators, but just do it yourself too, and then you'll just pick up things over time. And with that said, I'm sure a lot of us are very happy to help new players get into this game as well. Because I remember when I first started BDO, there weren't any guides out there. I had to just figure all of this out myself. And obviously the game has improved over time a lot, and that really does help. So I'm very happy to help newer players get into the game. I know this game is not very intuitive, to the point where I guarantee you, if I looked at this for the first time again, I would be very confused. That's why I make a lot of guide videos, because I'm like, why is that on? Like, why is this setting on by default? And so I'm just like, here, this is how you optimize it so you waste the least amount of time starting out, then you figure it out by yourself. So another thing that we could start off with as a new player is always make a seasoned character as a start. Now, even for myself, I still play through every single season that comes out. Here's the reason why you should do it, especially as a new player, because if you get put into the game directly, you're gonna have a harder time understanding the mechanics of the game. And when you play season, it's kind of like if you've ever played all those ARPG games like Path of Exile, Diablo, or literally any other game like that. Starting a season does not mean your character is irrelevant when the season ends. It just means that in BDO, you get some early on gear, or season gear as they call it, like Tuvala, and that is a lot easier to enhance or upgrade your gear. And it'll teach you the mechanics early on, and then after that you progress from like tutorial gear into regular endgame and boss gear, which is a lot lower of a chance of success than basically if you start with season. It's basically like tutorial mode, but it's also not at the same time, because like the seasonal gear they give you is not bad. It just helps you catch up a lot faster. So I think it's worth doing. Plus it gives you a lot of rewards just by doing it, to the point where it's a lot of silver. And I have a lot of videos on just how you should progress through seasons, what do you do after seasons, and where do you go from there. So it's probably on the channel. Go find it somewhere if you're interested. But seasons, very important, especially as a new player. I know that there are some things that I've watched my colleagues say as well, but they also forget that even as a new player, even if you progress through seasons, you don't have the knowledge that they have by playing the game. That's why once again, I always say that please ask. If you have a question or something is very confusing to you, just ask for help. I'm happy to help you with that. And yeah, so with that said, I think our last topic is buying versus making your gear yourself, enhancing it as they call in this game. This is a very interesting topic because realistically, buying all your gear off the market, and like, for example, the central market, right? The whole marketplace. Buying all your gear, I would say 99% of the gear you can get nowadays will be listed on the market. So buying it without RNG is always the best option. And I say that, and even though I make videos of me trying to make my own gear, now I do it because it's like content on YouTube. Sometimes it's fun, just sometimes I get that itch to do it. But if you are one of those people that just hates the whole RNG process of this game, then you can like basically guarantee it, and it's just a better way to go overall. So yeah, enhancing it, the only thing you get out of enhancing it is you get your name on it. Once you get it to the highest level, you get your name on it, which I think is a very unique like accomplishment where you could say, oh, I made this myself. And you have to basically ask yourself, is this name tag on your gear worth the amount you spent on it? Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're just trying to go for the gear the fastest way possible, then just making it is not really on average the best way, depending on the item, depending on if you know what you're doing. But yeah, so buying versus making it yourself, do you want your name on it, or do you just want to get it as fast as possible? And especially, this is the toughest thing, do you know how to make it efficiently and like cost efficiently? But some people are like, oh, I made this myself, but how much did it cost? It cost you like double the cost on the market. So just keep that in mind. Buying it is always generally the way to go, but yeah, just whatever you want. So in conclusion, what did we talk about? Don't compare yourself to others, because everyone is at a different level than you. And whether like here, how do I say this? I used to compare myself with my friends. So when I first started this game, I played it with a friend. We were like, oh, let's play this game together. It'll be fun. And this was obviously like when the game came out. And all it takes is one person to get a little bit lucky, and then suddenly they have a gear piece that will take you, I don't know, a month or two. And that's where things fall apart. And yeah, so the less you compare yourself to others, the happier you'll be. And at the end of the day, it may take months or maybe even years, but there is, believe it or not, a hard cap of gear. And eventually we will all be at the same pace. And it just also depends on how much of like the free catch-up mechanics Prolobis wants to give to us. So yeah, there's that. Don't compare yourself to others in terms of silver per hour, because there are too many factors. It is a good idea to get like a general idea of like, oh, I could make this much an hour. But if like you're not, don't feel discouraged, because there's a lot of factors like how much gear you have, the rotation you're doing, and all that stuff. So topic number 3 we talked about was learning to use the market. Like, learn which events are going on, what items are popular, what should you start saving right now, and all that stuff. Yeah, and knowing that this game is an event-based economy. Next one is probably the like most important tip I could give you, is just generally enjoying the class you play. And there's nothing wrong with re-rolling. I think you should play this however you want. But if you only do meta chasing and playing the best class flavor of the month, you're probably going to get burnt out, because in this game, I think that re-rolling like hurts your progress, because while I don't think it's wrong to play whatever you want, like, you still have to tag your character, and by that I mean, like, this is not free, and if you want to item copy your gear over, it gets pretty expensive, especially if you're doing it regularly. So there's a lot of things to do. How do you figure out the class you like? Play season. Play a trial character that they have. When trial character is like, you get to play around with a character. You can't really do any like normal gameplay stuff, but they put you in a battle arena. That way you can learn your class and learn all the skills they do. So find one you think fits your play style. And with that said, if you don't know what you want to play, feel free to ask. I can lead you into the right direction. So I've done this for people before who have asked me, and here's how it goes. They ask me, what class should I play? What is good for, like, I don't know, grinding, PvP, life skilling, whatever. And then I'll ask you, tell me about your play style. Do you like to play like support in other games, big DPS? Do you like playing a caster, mage, warrior, you know, those kind of things? And then we go from there. So that's basically how I can narrow a class down for you guys and help you pick the right one for you. But there's a lot of things. There's too many classes in this game, in my opinion, and not enough class balance. But yeah, if you need help picking a class, feel free to ask me, leave it in the comments or something, and I'll help you go from there. Just know that when people give you I'm like, you see those videos, I made X amount of silver in 1 hour doing this. Just know, take that with a grain of salt. There's a lot of factors, and it's not necessarily that it's false information. It's just more like, okay, so someone like mega geared, got it. But if you are not exactly at that level, you probably might get less. So once again, grain of salt. Not that it's false information, just a lot of factors. Then what do we talk about next is experience versus watching a content creator. Do it yourself. I know some people are nervous with PvP. You know what you could do with that? Just find a guild, just talk to your guildies or something, play with your friends, practice with them. It's not really a big deal. Like, realistically, I know like PvP anxiety is a thing, but at the end of the day, just like, realistically, no one remembers. At the end of the day, no one cares. Just practice, get better, do it again. And let's see, what else did we talk about? This is a sandbox game, not your traditional MMO, so it plays a little bit differently. You set your own goals. And the last two things we talked about were seasons, like tutorial mode. It's not really a tutorial. It's just like, it's a little bit the easier version until you get into the big boy non-season stuff, where that's when the stress comes in. And then last of all, buying gear versus enhancing it yourself. Honestly, I've played this game long enough. You get those adrenaline rushes of enhancing it yourself, but if you just want to progress at a steady path, buying your gear is the way to go. So, with that said, I know we talked about a lot of stuff. I would love to hear your feedback as well in the comments, if you have other tips for new players to give, and everything else. So, yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on social media. All the links are in the description as well. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments. Happy to answer it, and I do read stuff as well. But yeah, I know this game is very difficult and there's a lot of information that they don't really give you. So if there's something you ever need help on, feel free to ask. I'll get back to you as soon as possible if I know, or at least direct you to someone that might know. And yeah, hopefully we plan on making a lot of videos in the near future, especially going into December, where I want to like what is that word? Like, update a lot of my older guides and then make them more relevant. So with that said, thanks so much for watching. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow.